Hi John, how are you?
I'm very well. Afternoon, everyone, or late morning. I see a few names from the US joining us. It's John Kearon, Chief Juicer, Brain Juicer, and Chris.
Hello. Chris Jones, Head of Juice Generation, which means nothing to anyone apart from as a brain juicer, but it's the qualitative bit.
I know, it's great. We've managed to get in about 3 juices just before, in the first 2 sentences. We'll try and keep them to a minimum from now on. But yeah, we're going to talk about SpringSights. Insight's so good they actually kind of take your brand somewhere. And just as an incentive to perhaps stay around to the end, Chris and I did a version of this morning, very early morning for those in Asia and Japan, China, etc. And we didn't realise that once we stop recording, you can carry on listening. So we were having a good old chat about, what was good, what was not so good, what would we change for next time, and everyone could listen in. So just, stay on until the end. It's
Yeah.
you never know, we might say something really incriminating.
We'll have our own bloopers reel in real time.
Now, I think the best way, the way these things work, Chris and I are going to double-hand it and sort of split this up between us. But if you think of questions, I would type them out. Let us have the questions as the thought kind of occurs, because we're going to basically do the webinar for 30 minutes tops, and then we've got 10 minutes for questions, at the end. So I'm going to hand you over to Chris, who's going to kickstart everything.
Okay. Well, first off, we'll start with a little bit of a history lesson, basically where we really started with this whole insights journey. Philips is a company I'm sure you all know. Most of you will probably own some Philips goods and have them in your house. And Philips is responsible for so many of the sort of key innovations of the 20th century that it's sort of actually difficult to list them. But towards the back end of the last century and the start of during the noughties, it was becoming more and more difficult for them to identify as scientists what they should be putting their money behind. And so it occurred to them that what they needed really was something that would allow them to connect with consumers and identify those areas, the areas that consumers needed something to help them in their lives, something to enhance them, to use innovation to make their life easier. And so rather than just innovating stuff and pushing it out to a sort of a grateful but becoming increasingly less grateful market, it was decided that what they needed in order to be able to focus their energies was insight into the consumer needs. And the idea was that once they had found an insight that was proven to stand up, then they would invest R&D behind that and ideate new technology. Of course, them being scientists, how do you know if an insight is a good one? So that's where we came in. Our challenge was to develop a system that would allow us to identify what was a good insight, what was something that really stood up. But then there's this whole question about, well, what exactly is an insight? Well, I mean, this is a philosophy that I'm sure we can all connect with. It's from Dave Droger, who's the senior global creative guy, now heads up a boutique agency called Droger 5, but has worked with Saatchis and publicists. And this is something that we really believe in. What we do, in essence, you tell a story and connect it to something people already want to do. A truth built on a real truth, and insights are built on human truth. And I think we can all agree with that point of view, that insights are built on a human truth. But now there's a bit of a note of caution. Marshall McLuhan famously said, a point of view can be a dangerous luxury when substituted for insight and understanding. And the thing is, we all have a point of view, we all have opinions, and we should do. We're the ones who know a lot about our subject matter. So it's often down to us to make the decisions. I mean, when you think about it, that's actually what we're paid for. But sometimes these opinions, our points of view, can cloud our ability to actually understand the points of view of those who, in this instance, really matter. It's not your peers who we need to convince, it's your consumers. And in order to get to this understanding, we need to let go of our own preconceived notions. And that's why it's so vital to identify those insights that will really help you get the takeoff you need. The insights that let us let go of our point of view and give us the ability to both climb into the human truth and find meaning for your category within that. And this is the type of insight that we call a SpringSight. It's an insight that has the ability to really lift your brand and get you higher than you'd get without one. It raises the bar and it lets you clear it. So insights are like a fridge. Open them up and the light goes on. What we're saying here is that basically for us an insight is that moment of connection when you say to yourself, wow, yes, you understand me almost better than I understand myself. And that's what we need to set in our sights. That is precisely the definition that we use at Brain Juicer. It's a very consumer-centric definition. Wow, yes, you understand me almost better than I understand myself. So it is like a fridge door. The light goes on, and as soon as you see it, you know that it's right. And how do we measure it? Well, we have what's called a potency map. This is what helps us divine the good from the bad from the ugly. And basically, it's based on two axes. We have the resonance axis and we have the edge axis. And the edge axis is the communication axis. It shows the consumer's gut responses to the insight. Do they get it? Does it feel right? And the resonance is the evaluative axis. No, it's a case of do people recognize it? Is it something that strikes a chord with them? And just to give you an example, we've got something here. We've got two examples, one of which did okay on resonance. It was the 5 a day. You know, it's important that we all eat five fruit or veg a day, which people go, yes, I get that. It's relevant, it's important, but it leaves people with a kind of so what. Whereas on the other side, you have the Dove insight, which basically, I don't know if you're aware, the thought was, for years, the beauty industry seemed to have set out to make women feel bad about themselves for their own commercial needs. Wouldn't it be great if there was a brand that celebrated women as they really are? So something that really people felt gave a lift, so, something that was articulated in a way that they could say, wow, yes, you really understand me, almost better than I understand myself. So really taking something in a new direction and giving the brand a genuine lift. I mean, in this case, I think Dove sales went up by 36% once that core thought was there. And as you can see from this chart, only a very small percentage of insights make it into that top right-hand box. The green box there, 17%. So less than 1 in 5 will make it through this test. And what exactly is that test? Well, first off, we show people the statement and we ask them what spontaneously comes to mind when they first see it. And then we ask them which of these faces best expresses how you feel about this statement. And these are the faces that we developed and occur in a number of our approaches. So we're getting an emotional response to the insight note. How does it make them feel? And then how strongly do they feel this? So this really anchors their emotional connection to the insight and whether they are feeling happiness. And that's a key determinant of whether it has the edge that it needs to really cut through. And then we ask some questions about the specifics of why they felt this way about the statement. Do they understand what it is saying? Do they think the statement is true? Can they identify it? Very importantly, is it something that they'd be interested in? I.e., is it an itch that they want scratched? Because if it isn't, then you're going to end up sort of ideating or creating marketing communications that is playing to a small audience. Is it new and different? And wow, is it a great idea? And then we have some diagnostics that really help us pull it apart in terms of what you like about the statement and what you dislike. And also an online text highlighter that allows us to focus in on areas that might be working particularly well or particularly badly, because this isn't simply a process of test and you get a pass or a fail. It's actually evaluating the value of the insight and being able to offer qualitative diagnostics as to if it is not validating as a SpringSight, then how it might be improved in order to do that. And this is an example of the sort of output you get. The bar chart on the right will show the degree of happiness, the degree of surprise. This one did very well, very, very low neutrality. A little bit of contempt there because people are thinking this was to do with getting five a day in snack foods. Basically, some people are just saying there's nothing better than fruit or veg. You're never going to get those people, but it's interesting to know that they're there. On the at the top center, you've got the actual potency map that shows you where this insight sits. So you can see that's right up in the top right-hand corner of the top quintile. And then top right-hand side, you've got all the KPIs, and you can see that this is performing incredibly well, apart from neutrality. And in this case, that's good, because what you don't want in an insight is something that just generates swathes of neutrality, because neutrality is inaction, and that means nothing's going to happen. So for all the KPIs bar neutrality, it's good to get as high up as possible into the fifth quintile. And then we have a findings box. In this case, it's all good news, but quite often, if there are diagnostic issues, we will focus in on those and finding ways to help make the insight more powerful. So a few examples. This is the Purcell, dirt is good. Typically this.
By the way, Chris, I'm just Chris, just interrupting, just to remind everyone.
Yeah, sure.
Please type questions, as we go, because there are no questions yet. And that's either, well, I'm sure that's because, Chris, it's just so crystal clear. But also just a quick reminder. Anyway, sorry, back to you.
Yeah, no problem. You always let him do that because he's the boss. This idea of the laundry category had always celebrated white and demonized dirt, and this was a fantastically counterintuitive thought that really connected with consumers, because it captured a human truth, which is dirt is experience, dirt is good, rolling around in mud is part of growing up. Wouldn't it be good to know that cleaning up afterwards won't be a problem? So the mums felt that, yes, the kids can go off and play, and then I know I've got something in my corner that will help me, so I don't have to be the nagging mum, don't do this, don't do that. This next one is basically an insight supporting a product that was in the same category as Viagra, but just not as good. But it did have another strength, which was its efficacy was over a longer lasting period. So the simple insight here, again, a SpringSight, top right-hand corner. Viagra may produce the strongest action, but having just 4 hours to act reduces the spontaneity and easy intimacy of a normal, healthy sex life. I'd happily accept some reduced strength for a much longer-lasting product and a more normal sex life. So again, normalizing something, finding a strength, finding the human truth, and a category rationale there. And then this last one,
Chris, it's worth saying on the Cialis one that wherever it's been launched, it's won a 40% market share, basically away from Viagra, wherever it's been launched. And it's a good one, because any of you listening who work in a sort of technical or an engineering culture, I have been asked on various occasions by large pharmaceutical, mainly bench scientists, why we need to bother with insights. What is this marketing stuff all about? Because, understandably, they feel that the compound, the chemical, either works or it doesn't work. It's either clinically proven and it'll be a success, or it isn't. But actually, Cialis is a really good reminder that an inferior product, in terms of bench scientists, something that's not perceived to be as good, actually, when you understand how it's used, how people, how consumers' lives are, you can actually, have a product which is almost as good as the brand leader, even when it's not technically as good. And that's marketing. In fact, that's SpringSights.
That is a SpringSight, taking you where you wouldn't have gone otherwise. And this final example here is about wearing a seatbelt in the back. Years and years, the health and safety people have been successfully indoctrinating us in the message of why it's important to wear a seatbelt in the front seat. But people are very lackadaisical about wearing them in the back. And this insight basically showed that this selfish act of not wearing a seatbelt in the back could kill someone that you love in the front. And it's very straightforward, very simple. By not wearing the seatbelt in the back of the car, you could kill someone you love. It would be great if everyone felt they should buckle up every time they get in. So simply making people realize that their actions would have consequences. And again, a very powerful insight and validating in the top 17%. So John, over to you.
Right. Yeah. Why are insights important? I mean, I guess the sort of 84 people on the listening in think it's probably important for some reason, but there is actually good statistical evidence as well as a sense that it's what underpins good marketing. A very famous study showed that inadequate market analysis, basically not understanding your customers well enough, is the single reason behind most product failures. Yeah, introductions. So that's one. That's at a macro level. The next one is some data that we've pulled out from Philips, actually, where we tested hundreds of insights, and they've tested, similarly, hundreds of concepts that have come out of insights. And basically what this chart shows is that they analyzed those concepts that were tested without a validated insight, and by the way, they're over on the left-hand side, and those that were concepts that were tested with a strong SpringSight, and basically the correlation is very, very strong. If you've got a good SpringSight, it springs you forward. It takes you somewhere and it suggests good concepts, and they do well. The ultimate proof, of course, is that they do well in market, and that's why we're trying to share with you real examples of SpringSights that have really driven brand success. So how do you get a really good one? Chris, don't know if you can push us on. Great. So we're looking at porridge. You may, don't worry, you may be thinking, what's the connection? Porridge and insights. But porridge is a simple thing to make, it seems. But actually, to make really good porridge is very subtle, and it's difficult. The nice thing about porridge is it sustains you. You're trying to find something that can sustain the brand, and understanding how to make a really good one is what we're about to show in the next 5 minutes. So, on to the next slide, which you got a sneak peek of a moment ago. We took all of the insights. We tested, over 4,000 insights now. We took the worst ones and we took the best ones and did a meta-analysis and have pulled out 3, if you like, golden rules of writing. It's more than writing, it's generating, but how you actually find something that's a great insight or a SpringSight. First rule, generally speaking, it's better to phrase it negative to positive. So you kind of highlight the issue and you point in the direction of a solution. So like the Dove, for years the beauty industry almost set out to make women feel bad about themselves, the negative. Wouldn't it be great if there was a brand that actually celebrated women as they are? So it suggests, where it should go, but without giving an actual specific in terms of a product solution, because we found that that doesn't work. Keep it at the insight level. So that's number one. Number two, short sentences with human language is best. That's just good writing, really. Short is always harder than long. It takes much longer, doesn't it, to kind of get something really tight, but it's always better. And just try and avoid, to be honest, avoid marketing speak. It's difficult sometimes because, we're used to it, but when it comes to consumers, just put it in their language. I know it's almost obvious to say it, but it does work. And if you don't do it, you provoke irritation and people kind of reject it because it starts to sound, not for them. The third one is where we've probably had most discussion, certainly in the last year, with clients who were testing all of their insights. And I think it's a really interesting area, which is our recommendation, very clearly, and I'll show you why, is that you should include the category within the insight. In order for it to be a commercial, actionable SpringSight, something with commercial value, you have to add the category, we think, in order for you to know that it works in the category, rather than just being a human truth, which can resonate but might not work for your category. Anyway, more of which in a minute. So let's start off with a simple example. This is a Philips example, and we were working with their voice over IP, their basically internet phone division. So on the left was one of the insights, which if you can see the purple block down on the bottom left, did not test very well, and you can probably understand why as I read it out. I'm a regular Skype user and I think it's great, but I find it very annoying being unreachable, for my contacts with my PCs off, or having to start the PC to make a call. I wish I could have Skype always on, like my regular phone, even when my PC is off. So you can see that it's what we all do when we know a category really well. We can be locked into the category and the language of that category. And so what we were able to do with the diagnostics and with a bit of kind of qualitative approach was actually rewrite it. And you'll see it's not just a rewriting; it's a reframing of something that then actually did qualify as a SpringSight and became the basis of their very successful internet phone. It'd be great to have something that operates just like my normal phone, but enables me to take advantage of free or almost free calls on the net. That's it. Simple as that. Not all the Skype stuff, I'm afraid. I just want it to work like a normal phone. Okay. So that's the sort of thing I mean by short, sharp sentences, negative to positive. And now I want to share with you some thoughts on human truths versus SpringSights. Yeah? So whether you should or should not include the category in the insight itself. Because we've seen lots of insights come our way which don't have the category, can perform well, but the point is, unless it's got the category in it, you're never quite sure you know for sure whether it's actually got commercial potential. So let's do an example. Okay, so Persil that we talked about before. At the observation level, when my child plays outside, he always comes back home messy and his clothes are all dirty. That's the sort of, that's one of the things that came out as a stepping stone to the actual SpringSight. But that's just an observation. Yeah. At the other end, you've got the human truth. I want my child to grow up happy, having fun, following his dreams. That carefree, liberated. You want them to explore the world. You want them to be free, and that's powerful. As a parent, that is the sort of thing that would resonate. But it's when you put the category within it. So dirt is experience, dirt is good, rolling around in the mud is part of growing up. Wouldn't it be good to know that cleaning up afterwards won't be a problem? That's when it turns, if you like, into commercial gold, because you've found a way of actually taking something that really resonates as a parental truth, a human truth, and then intrinsically linked it back to the category in a way that people go, yep, I get it, I like it, I've never heard it quite like that before, and you're off to something. Okay, let's keep going. The problem with human truths is they can score quite well, or very well, but without the category, you are in danger of getting a false positive, a false sense of satiation. That's just to test my alliteration skills for the afternoon. But, so let's do an example. So wouldn't it be great if we could all live happily ever after? I mean, I know it's an obvious one, but sure, yeah, wouldn't it? It'd be really, really nice. But you have to add the category to translate, to see if it works for your category. So here's a simple example. Wouldn't it be great if there was a lifestyle coaching company that could help us all live happily ever after? Now, Then you can choose to accept that or reject that. Yeah? So it takes the human truth and tries to apply it to a category. And you can hopefully feel, as I'm saying it, whether you think, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's certainly got some relevance, but whether you like it as soon as it's applied to a category is really what we want to find out. Otherwise, it's just a human truth without commercial potential for a coaching company. Okay? So this is one, and it was one of several for a food company that we were testing, and it was expressed as a general, human truth. When I'm able to eat well, I feel better about myself and I feel more confident. And you can see, and it's not surprising, why that did well. Yeah, it had resonance and it had edge. It's like eating and confidence, those things, great. But as soon as you added the category, when I'm able to eat well, I feel better about myself, I feel more confident. It'd be great if there were a food company dedicated to helping me eat better. It seems reasonable. It's all about eating. But you can see that it absolutely collapses. And the reason which you get from the diagnostics, of course, is I don't want a food company kind of telling me what to do. I mean, it is an aspiration, but I kind of want to do it for myself, and I don't really want to be reliant on a food company. And so it was rejected. And that's what we see happen quite often to human truth when applied to the category. Yeah? And that's why we warn against it. Now, it can also happen the other way around. So the example that we had before of the 5 a day, as a parent, it's important to eat, to get children to eat 5 fruit and veg a day. True, yes, but it's got no edge. I know it, the kids know it, etc. And the example that Chris shared earlier, when we can't share the specific one, I'm afraid, but when we connected it to snacking, kids snacking, fruit and veg kids snacking, suddenly, actually, it becomes very, it's relevant and it works. And so for both reasons, to be sure that you've got a SpringSight, which for us means it's got commercial potential, we would say add the category. So just to finish this little section, I'm going to give you some insights from categories where sometimes we're asked, well, does it work for emotional categories rather than just functional? So this is De Beers Diamonds. Life is a journey well-traveled with almost too many highs and lows to recall. It'd be great to have a gift that transcends time and is a constant reminder of our bond. And any of you who are aware of the De Beers adverts, they come straight out of that. Okay? And then just a couple more and I'll hand you back to Chris. So perfume, perfume, almost the ultimate emotional. In life there can be so many pressures to do this, to do that, and it means you lose your sense of self. That's why I want to have things that help me reassert my individuality to me and to others. Okay. Mont Blanc pens. There you go. I don't know how many people own one, but emails, texts, social media are instant, fleeting, and impermanent. But a handwritten letter shows you care and feels more personal, affecting, and permanent. I'd love to give and receive more personal and permanent communication. Is that the last one, Chris, or is there one more?
That is, yeah, that is the last one.
Okay, back to you.
Thank you, John. Well, oh, sorry, it wasn't. I lied. Basically, this that's a cunning trick. This was for again for Philips. It's about their music on the go, and Philips is obviously up against the power of iPod. But Philips is renowned for its fantastic sort of audio quality. So here was an insight that we actually generated for Philips amongst numerous others, which all subsequently went on to validate using our digivisuals approach, which I'll talk about in a minute. And here it's just, I love listening to music when I'm out and about, but poor sound quality and outside noise means I crank the volume to a point where the sound distorts and my ears hurt. Wouldn't it be great if there was a player my ears could enjoy at normal volume levels? So again, capturing that human truth and making sure that the category deliverable is in there. So that is the last one. And now I'd just like to quickly talk about our philosophy on generating insights, and then and the approaches that we use, and then we'll throw it open to questions. The first thing, brain juice, that we completely believe in is that insights don't necessarily fall out of doing market research. You have to sort of go in, it has to be a specific thing that you're looking for. You have to sort of let yourself go, and just assuming that normal market research will allow us to identify these nuggets can mean that you have more fool's gold than real gold. The second thing, and this is certainly the way that we do our work and the way that the juice generation team is resourced, is it's about creativity. It's about creative ways of getting to the truth and creative ways of analysing it and making sure that what we deliver is a SpringSight. And these SpringSights are the aspiration that we all aim for. You know, we're not content to deliver anything that falls outside of the 17%. And we have a number of approaches for generating insights. We have our digivisuals. These are research robots which we program. They go out into the social media sphere and they bring us back truths, bring us back a window on the world of our customers, or they can be a trend, or they can be a brand. And the lovely thing about digivisuals is no questions are asked. There's no way that we're just going to get superficial versions of the truth. So again, it allows you really to mine into those human truths and use that understanding when coupled with the needs of the category and the deliverables of the category, allows you to get to great insights. The Juicy Brains Innovation Community is our online community platform. Basically, it is designed in a way that it's all project specific. If you want to know about laundry, if you want to know about seat belts, or if you want to know about health and safety, we will create a community that specifically talks around those issues. We have very highly qualified qualitative moderators who know how to use projective techniques, use questioning, use stimulus to get behind, again, the sort of immediate truths that people sort of often feel comfortable throwing out in these kind of forums. And again, it allows us to get to the good stuff that sits behind the more platitudinous responses. And then the third approach is actually something that we're just pioneering at the moment, which is using a mobile app as an in-the-pocket ethnographer. So an always-on ethnographic view of what is going on, real sort of classic observational stuff, minimal interaction, allowing us rather than getting answers to the questions that we as the client or the research agency have determined. It's just sort of observing what those needs are, what are the human truths that we can uncover and actually deliver new and exciting insights against. John talked about articulation earlier, and I think that's a hugely important role for us, making sure that these thoughts are articulated in a way that will let them fly rather than make them die. And then we talked at length earlier about the validation process, and one of the things that we offer at BrainJuicer is what we call our GAV guarantee. So we will guarantee you a SpringSight if you come on the journey with us from generating insights through articulating them to validating them. And if we don't get you one that sits in that top 17%, we will do it again because we're so confident in our approach to be able to do this. And that is us. So
we will keep going until we've got you a SpringSight. I mean, you know, when has an agency ever offered that? I don't know. Great stuff. Well, Chris, look, we've got a few questions.
Okay.
Just starting, if you like, with how to generate them, you know, just because that was, you know, the last bit you were chatting about. Dag was asking, you know, what do you think of insights generated from netnography?
Oh, perfectly valid. No, I think the thing is, no, insights can come from anywhere. I mean, if we remember, the Dove insight actually came from someone spotting a piece of data in some quantitative research that said 72% of women felt bad about themselves after reading a beauty magazine. So the thing is not necessarily about the being overly prescriptive about the approach that you take. It's actually having the sensitivity to spot the good stuff. So netnography is perfect. I mean, the thing I particularly like about netnography is it's conversations taking place between people and people doing stuff without us knowing. And an old mentor of mine many years ago when I was in old school qual said, no, the world is that thing that happens when researchers aren't watching. And I think the netnography is a perfectly acceptable approach, provided the person is sufficiently capable to have a sort of a broad church of acceptability about what they're looking for, because part of the problem is we often see the things that we're looking for.
Okay. I've got a 3-in-1 from Angelica, who's been firing questions at us. A is can I get a copy of the slides? Yes, I think we send it out afterwards, so that's an easy one. The other question was, how does this work in healthcare? With healthcare professionals, when you're maybe not even talking to the end user. It works. So we've done this with Roche, and I think with Boehringer, with healthcare professionals. Yeah, eminently possible, and
yeah,
obviously it can get expensive, but it's possible, isn't it?
And I think what's interesting about in the health and wellness space is quite often a lot of it has been aimed at the healthcare professional, and now we've been doing some very successful online communities with people sort of having hip replacements, people suffering from overactive bladder, people with cardiopulmonary disease, and actually by unearthing their needs, we're helping our clients sort of create a pull need. So rather than this autocratic thing about going through the healthcare professional because they know best, we're creating a system whereby the end user, the patient, the sufferer, we're actually understanding what their needs are, and then we're creating this situation where they can actually say, this is my problem, I want this solution.
Yeah, very nice. There was Angelica's third, and it was similar to Elizabeth's question, which was really about validation and non-validated insights. So it's like, have we ever done any work validating insights from in-market successes, or making sure that we've actually got the connection not just between insights and concept test scores, but actual in-market type, sort of results. And I guess the answer is yes, but we're trying to build up a bigger and bigger database, because it takes time. Chris, there was one example, wasn't there, with Philip's photo frame, which was a really interesting one, because the insight behind the success of it was actually not that obvious. And I think it turned out that it was the perfect gift. So it wasn't actually all of the clever technology and pixels and how many photos you can store. There was something about a frame with photographs inside it that was incredibly personal and incredibly appropriate as a gift. And that was a really nice one, that sort of drove the success of photo frames. Unfortunately, I think there's an element of re-gifting going on. It's such a good gift, I won't actually use it, I'll just give it to someone else. And round it goes. So it needs a bit of work on what to use it for.
Yeah, had a bumper first year, but it's not been great since.
Chris, perhaps as the last one, Lars has asked an interesting one, which is there a need to validate human truths? Is there a need and a method for actually just looking at the human truths?
Well, not really, because actually our belief is that the human truth is only part of the deal. Now, we know, and we have done tests that have shown that some human truths can validate and can give the illusion of being a SpringSight. But we have done experiments, that recent one that we did, John, where we added a category and we could see whether it was a sink or swim. And I think also the other thing with the human truths is certainly the work that we've done, where we've done sort of quite deep exploratory work into sort of what's going on in the world of consumers. You can kind of tell which are the human truths because when you have, for example, an online community, you can see where the hotspots in the dialogue are. And when you're doing mobile ethnography, you can see where the recurring themes are. And these seem to sort of aggregate around a human truth. I mean, I suppose one could validate a human truth as a stepping stone and then look at what there would be a subsequent.
It's a stepping stone, really, isn't it? I mean, it's like it's not necessary, but it's probably quite good to know that you've got some good human truths, but they aren't commercial in that form.
Yeah,
something like that. And talking of mass ethnography, one last one. Lionel has asked, can you just say a little bit more about the mobile mass ethnography technique? Kind of what is it, and is it available?
Yeah, but basically it's an app that works on Android and iPhone. People upload it. It allows basically the ethnographer to go with them. We will set people tasks, so it's like, if you're going shopping for cereal, photograph the shelves facing, or talk us through the choices that you're making. We can get people to open their cupboards at home, show us where they store stuff. We can get them to tell us when and where they're snacking and how they're feeling at that moment, because we can tag everything and they can give us little descriptions. There's a whole raft of things you can do, but the key thing is it allows us to get to their truth without it being an invasive question and answer session. And the benefit over traditional ethnography is that it is always with people. And the thing that we found most illuminating about this approach is because people are sending us voice messages and filming stuff and taking pictures of stuff, because they're using a device that they're very familiar with, that they're very comfortable with, we get some fantastically revealing insights into their life, and they're sort of happy to share stuff. They after a couple of days, they completely forget that there is a spy in the cab, which is me or one of the other people at Brain Juicer, sort of collecting all this information. So very revealing insights into people's ordinary lives without the sort of intrusive boot of research.
And on that wonderful booted notion, I think we should finish. So thanks everyone. I hope you got something useful from that. Chris, beautifully articulated. It's all recorded. We'll send out a link so you can listen again, or you can pass it on to your teams, and we'll send it out, obviously, with the slides there as well. So look, thanks, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.